Dragons, I'm back to do part 1 of my June reading wrap up. June is always a crazy month because it's the end of school. My show was also all the way in June this year, which never happens, and also I'm doing the Amazzing readathon. I also am dealing with chronic laryngitis. Hopefully come next week when I don't have to talk the entire day, my voice will get a lot better, actually sound a lot better. But I'm going to try to keep this sweet and to the point because everything I vlogged, I just want to kind of go over what I read just so I don't have to do a 20-book wrap up at the end of June, especially because I am traveling that week and my wrap up will be a bit late. So yeah, let's get into it. I wound up reading 16 things in the first part of June, a lot of short things, readathons. I'm actually playing the game smarter this year, not harder, which is good. I read 3,971 pages. My average page count per day was 132. My average page count, like, overall is 248. That's a little bit lower, but I did read a lot of short things for Face Off, which I'm in the middle of. My most read genre is a graphic novel. That's not going to be a shock. The whole second half of this whole video is just going to be everything I read during Face Off. Well, mostly everything. I read 4 books with rep and 5 authors I've read before. I read 2 5 stars. I read 4 9 stars, 5 3 stars, and my average rating was a 3.81. A lot of 4 stars. I haven't had a real 5-star like read this whole month, so I'm hoping second half will get it, but honestly, it's been so chaotic and so crazy. I read 3 new releases. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer. I read 3 new releases. I read 9 backlist, 4 from last year. I read 6 physical, 2 audio, 0 mixed media, and 8 ebook. Okay, and then I started 6 series, I continued in 3, I completed 0, I caught up in 1, I read 7 standalone and 0 anthology. And how I got them, I read 0 physical arcs. I read 2 from Audible, 4 from KU, 5 from the library, and 0 from NetGalley. I read 5 owned and 0 from Everand. I read 2 YA fantasy, 3 fantasy, 2 middle grade fantasy, 1 contemporary romance, 4 graphic novels, 2 mangas, and 2 short stories. So yeah, let's get into it. So we started the Amazzing readathon off and we went to, let's see if I can remember, we went to Toronto and you had to read a book that you didn't like buy. So I read Call Forth the Fox for teen fantasy and it was my teen genre and that was about it. I did wind up flying that leg. So yeah, here's a photo. This book 4 stars. I thought it was a fun YA fantasy. Definitely did have LGBTQ plus elements in it, which I couldn't find that the author was out, so I didn't put that as points. But the book was really, really fun. It gave me like fall and spring vibes. There was 2 clear romances. I just sort of wished we had other point of view characters to sort of flesh out the world. That is why I only gave it 4 stars for review. But I had a fun time with it, and I would definitely read more by this author in the future. I think it was also technically a retelling. It was Rose Red and Snow White. I think that was like the kind of comp title. But I had a fun time. It was fairies, and it was a fun time. It just didn't wow me as much as I was hoping because I didn't feel that connected to the characters. And then the next book that I read was a sightseeing book, and that is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. I don't know what I counted this one as. I can't remember. I know that it's definitely a host favorite because this was Kristen's host favorite. Oh, read a book with all 5 vowels in the title. So this is the one that I counted. And I actually really liked this book. It was like a cozy fantasy, but it was a cozy fantasy that I liked because it had enough like cozy vibes, like with follows the main character. She's a baker. Her magic is like she can like start, she could use her magic to like help her bake. And I liked it. It had also like a murder mystery element to it. There were side characters. It was fun. This is one of the books that throughout this whole process I felt a little bit bad by because I kept having to put it down because I was reading it over the course of like a couple of legs and I wish I could have just settled down and read it, but the first half of this month was so busy and so chaotic. But it was like my perfect type of cozy fantasy because it had cozy vibes. It wasn't that intense, but then there was like a plot element that really pushed me forward. So I gave this one 4 stars for review, and I want to read more by T. Kingfisher, so this was an exciting one for sure. And then the next book I read was I'm sorry, I have like so many tabs open. We had to go to Berlin, I think. Berlin? Yeah, I think. Oh no, I don't remember where that. But the point is that we had to read a book with two point of views, and it had to be only two point of views. Our team got a bit of a punishment, so we had to like randomly choose 6 books that had two point of views. And that was really tricky, I will tell you. But Forged in Magic by Jen Wolfhard got chosen. So here's the photo. This was another like cozy fantasy book that I liked. I had a really fun time with it. I gave this book 4 stars. It was a fantasy romance. It was my first foray into monster romance. It was an elf and an orc. There was also like a competition element. So kind of like with this, I liked it a lot. Normally when I read cozy fantasy, it's all slice of life and there's no plot. This had a nice balance. The romance was fun. I definitely want to read the other books in this series. It may happen later in the month. We'll see what Brie and the prompt gods decides will work. But I had a fun time. I thought it was a quick read and it worked for the prompt, which I was having a hard time with that book because trying to find a fantasy book that only had 2 point of views was really hard and I wanted something shorter. That's the problem with these readathons. If you fall too far behind, you feel like you're not helping your team. And like, I know I felt that way last year when I was in Italy. I like felt like I didn't even get to participate in Face Off. So yeah, so that was the next one that I read for that. So that was my, I don't even know the stop name, but that was, I didn't write it. But then the next book I read was another book, and this was to go to Berlin. And I read No One Leaves the Castle by Christopher Neely. I'll attach a photo here. Supposed to be my sightseeing book, but then it got pushed because it just worked, because Leaves is the Berlin when you had to read a title that had a movement word in it. I thought this was a fun time. I read a lot of murder mystery books that reminded me of my own murder mystery that I was working on, this one and the next one. So I had a fun time with it. I thought it was a really fun kid story. Like, it was quick, it was fun, the writing was intriguing. It sort of gave me the Sweet Life of Zach and Cody vibes, but you basically follow this character and her whole goal is to be a bard, and then her best friend wants to be like, to try to like, oh my god, I forgot what she is, but she like, they're teaming up to kind of get their jobs across, and they have to kind of solve this murder in a mansion, and it was fun. I really liked it. It was a quick listen. Again, this was another one of those books that I kept having to put down to do other things, and I think my enjoyment of it suffered a little bit, but I had a fun time when I read it. So yeah, that one I gave 4 stars to. A lot of 4 stars in this video. And then the next book that I read was a sightseeing book, and that is, it had like the way that this readathon works is you have lake prompts and you have sightseeing prompts. So I read The Unmaking of June Farah by Adrienne Young, and this was for, it had a character's name in the title. I like this book. I gave this book like a solid 4 stars. I think that if you like the time traveler's life, I think you would like this. But basically you follow a main character, and her name is June Farrow, and her grandmother just died. And her grandmother was having a lot of memory issues, and June is starting to fear that that is her life. Little does she know, June and her family are not normal. Things are not what they seem, and she's about to go on a really crazy adventure. If you like the time traveler's life, I think you would like this book. It has a very open ending, and there are some plot elements that I think went a bit over my head, but I had a fun time with it. I gave it 4 stars. It was enjoyable. If you're looking for a book that has a name in the title, I think that this would work. It was also really quick. I read this pretty quickly. I think that it was definitely a book that I could reread once I kind of know the twist and know what's happening. But it was an enjoyable one, and I gave it 4 stars. And this was my sightseeing book for that leg. And then the next book that I read was just a wild one. I went to the city to go see Merrily We Roll Along, which is a play that has Dan Radcliffe and Jonathan Groff in it. And I picked up Unforgettable by Willow Astor because Tori from Novel Life, I'm a part of her Patreon, is eventually going to do a live show where she wraps up all these books, and I just needed something to listen to, and I had a fun time. I gave it 4 stars. Here's a photo. A small town romance about a character that really doesn't want to give up her family's ski lodge, but then it gets bought by someone else and they kind of have a romance, and it was fun. I liked it. Whenever I read small towns, I never love the first book as much as like the other books, because I tend to like the characters in the second book and third books more. But I gave this book 4 stars. It was fun. It was quick. I listened to it literally when I was walking around the city. And that's why I love listening to romances and thrillers, because it's really easy to read. This month has proven a bit challenging because I've been having to listen to fantasy, and that's not my favorite. But we do what we do to help our team, right? So yeah, I gave that one. I gave that one 4 stars. It's been a very, very 4-star month. Like, nothing has wowed me yet, but hopefully in later half months we will. And then the next prompt that we got was read a book that won an award, because we're going to Paris, and the Paris Olympics is going to be this summer, which I'm really excited for. I struggle with this. I had really like decision paralysis because I didn't know what I wanted to choose. So I decided to choose something that again, was murder mystery inclined, and I read Murder at Spindle Manor by Morgan Stagg, and here's a photo. The most recent Spiffbo winner, and I wanted to read it, so I picked it up. It was a murder mystery with a fantastical world. I remember in my video I was saying, like, it reminded me of Alexis Hall's murder mystery that I read, like, very, very fun, very, very quick. But because of this one, I didn't feel that connected to the characters because it happened so quick. It really felt like I was reading a clue game, and I enjoyed it. I didn't feel that connected to the characters, but it didn't like do anything. It was a book there, and I read it. I had a fun time with it. I think that I would have liked it better if I listened to it, but there is no audiobook, so I only gave it 4 stars. But that is the book that got me to Paris. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. And then let me see what else I'm up to. Oh, and then the last book I read before Face Off started, this is when I got really sick. I got a bad case of laryngitis and a cold and a sinus infection and maybe the flu. I don't know. After the show, I always get sick. Like, it's always bad. But I had to read a book with nature on the cover because we were going to Cape Town. And I had like a day before we went to Cape Town. And I knew I had to choose something super, super short. So I just chose like a random thing off KU, and it's called The Griffin Egg by Cole Poindexter, and I will touch a photo here. This is sort of one of those books that I saw it on Danny from Danny Reed, like from Danny Dabbled. I saw it that she liked it. I picked it up again. Pacing. I don't like short things. Short things I really, really struggle with. And I just felt like I needed something short, and it was a book that had nature on the cover, so I picked it up and I read it. It was quick. I didn't feel that connected to the characters. So if you're looking for kind of a quick read that has a middle grade element and questy, a little bit confusing, I would pick it up, but it didn't wow me. So I'm really going to fly through these sightseeing books because I literally have an entire vlog, which you're going to see next, where I chat about all my face-off books, but I just really want to like go through them really, really quickly because I think there was some clips in there that I didn't film just because I got distracted. But I read Dragon Call Roll Call, which is a graphic novel that I got from Leander TBR0. I'll touch a photo here. This is a book that is loosely based on D&D. I had a fun time. Definitely had some middle grade themes in it and middle grade elements. If you have some reluctant readers and like D&D, I think this would be great, but it was a bit boring for me. And then I read Spy Family, volume 5 and 6. Again, I don't like reading physically on graphic novels or anything, so when I read them like this, I think I lose my enjoyment a little bit. I had a fun time with them. They were quick. They didn't make that big of an impression, but I did have a fun time with them, so I read these 2 for Face Off weekend as well. And then I also read Your Guide to Not Getting Murdered in a Quaint English Village by Maureen Johnson. I will attach a photo here. I gave 3 stars too. It was just a really, really quick read. It kind of reminded me of like a murder mystery and kind of getting all the elements to it. It was quick. Again, I've just been in like a murder mystery mood. I really haven't been in a murder mystery mood, but I feel like all the murder mysteries have been finding me. I think this is also the group book for Leandra's Patreon, which I think I may have read and didn't even mention my thoughts, but I had a fun time with it. It was quick, and it was just a quick read that kind of, got stuff going. And then the one thing I didn't talk about in my face-off vlog, I do not know why, I don't know where the clip went. I read Garlic and the Witch and Garlic and the Vampire, and I love these books. I gave them 5 stars. Here you go. Here are the photos. It was just a really fun time. I really like these graphic novels. I might try to buy them at some point because I think they would look great on my shelves, but they're just really cute, cozy books with somewhat of a plot. So you follow this character named Garlic, and he's kind of becoming a human throughout the whole first book, but then they learn that he has to go on a quest to kind of help his friend the vampire, and they go on this quest and things happen and they have to talk about change and growing up and stuff like that. Gave that book 5 stars. I really thought it was cute. And the prequel, Garlic and the Vampire, or Garlic and the Witches first, and then Garlic and the Vampire is the prequel, is how he meets the vampire. And I just thought it was really cute, and I gave it 5 stars. So if you're looking for a kind of a quick read, or if you're looking for nature on the cover and you're still doing this readathon and you're really far behind and just want to catch up, I would definitely choose those because they're really cute and really easy to read. And then the last book I'm going to talk about in this video is Perils in Provence, which is a cozy mystery short story. I will attach a photo here. It's just a really cute short story murder mystery. Like, it follows this main character. She was kind of going to this house to kind of be an appraiser and figure out what was going on. And yeah, it was fun. Oh, I have one more thing to talk about. It was fun. It was quick. It was 120 pages and I had a fun time with it. I gave it 3 stars. So maybe if another readathon pops up, I'll read the other ones. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is Lunar New Year Love Story by Jean Yulin Yang and Luing Fang. This is a graphic novel that I picked up from my library. It is also one of the graphic novel arcs that eluded me at all the comic book conventions that I went to this year, so I didn't pick it up, but I got it and I thought it was fun. I gave it 4 stars. I think there's a lot going on in this, and it's also quite chunky. There was like all the family elements with it, and then there's also like a fantastical element too. So I think that it was a fun time. I think it was trying to do a lot, and I don't know if it was executed that well. Also, some of the art style made me think these characters were like a lot older than they really are, but I had a fun time. So yeah, that is all the stuff I read for the first half of Face Off weekend. I'm not done with Face Off. Face Off actually ends in like a couple hours, but I just wanted to get this video up so I could be prepped for next week and not be so far behind. So let me know what you have been reading if you've been participating in the Amazzing Readathon. I would love to know, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.